Fellini Satyricon is without a doubt Federico Fellini's landmark film. Praised for its astonishing cinematography, sets, and outstanding dreamlike storytelling, he received an Oscar nomination for Best Directing. However, many people struggle to grasp the essence of Fellini's masterpiece, often stating that the film was about nothing in particular.
The story and the script is the third most important thing. Because you can make a wonderful film about nothing. Look at Fellini.
But is this actually true? After viewing the film first time, I was a little confused. What was the point? However, I decided to go back to it, and I took up the task to falsify that statement. In this video, I'll be covering that, so let's get started. Before reaching any reasonable conclusion, we have to ask ourselves, what is the film about? What does the film present to us with its scenes? The first thing that catches our eye is obviously the weirdness of the movie itself. Somebody stole and sold somebody else's lover to a maniac who cuts off people's hands for show? In a nutshell, we observe the ancient Rome at the highest peak of its depravity. Hedonism, selfishness, power, money, glory, corruption. There is almost something disgusting about the film itself that you really don't want to go back to it. In the midst of all this, we follow the story of Encolpio, who after the loss of his house and lover Giton, experiences a very strange mix of events. He is searching for his love. However, as he does so, even when he is very close to him, he finds himself more and more separated, unable to reach him. Together with his companion Ashilto, they try to find other means to satisfy themselves. They have an encounter with a woman, subsequently they meet another woman who is sick when she doesn't have an encounter with a man, they satisfy her, and it kind of sums up the sickness of the world Encolpio lives in. They are so spoiled that they cannot last a second without pleasure, they seek it without pause. That's really hour and a half of the movie. Now the interesting thing happens when Encolpio is trapped in some kind of labyrinth, from which he can't really escape. He faces the barbarity and cruelty that the gladiator in the mask symbolizes, from which there is no escape point available to him. He must kill the gladiator, however he yields, and the gladiator forgives him, offering him more pleasure and more happiness, which in this case may symbolize some higher power that changed this world or just a change that comes within humans rejecting evil. But the next thing that happens to Encolpio is lack of strength, not physical, because he is in good shape, but mental strength to do something. He goes to the brothel for a woman to cure him, but it doesn't work. So he decides to use the magic and sorcery to cure him. He goes to a woman named Oenothea. It cures him and brings his strength back. But is it for sure? Right after that, Ashilto gets killed. There is a shot of a knife as he gets stabbed, cutting to a nose of vulture that blends with Encolpio's body, which may symbolize death and decay of Encolpio's spirit for good, as he uses black magic to cure his desires. The scene right after presents his joy as he is about to go for an adventure with Ashilto. But Ashilto is dead, and then he goes right back to grief over his friend. However, after the moment, he quickly forgets that Ashilto was killed without attaching much importance to it. He happily marches towards a ship for another adventure, to seek more pleasure, and ultimately everything comes down to it. Before he goes off to the ship, there is an interesting dialogue about eating the dead, and that it is still practiced in some cultures, which basically says that people at that point in history were changing, which better aligns with my theory. In the last scene we see Encolpio who says in the voiceover,
In un'isola ricoperta di erbe alte e profumate si presentò un giovane greco e raccontò che negli anni...
and the movie cuts to his painting, which may symbolize two things. One is the fleetingness of vitality, where the youth Encolpius met predicts something. Concluding from the painting, I would say it's his death that is going to come in the years or something terrible as that. The second thing it may symbolize is change, due to the fact that the film often gave us clues like that, but I would bet it's the first one. So in conclusion, this movie is about the instability of vitality due to soulless and destructive lifestyle of ancient Rome. That is, I think, the real meaning of this movie, at least the one that makes the most sense. Federico Fellini said this about it, without revealing the true meaning of the movie.
Le vrai message moral, c'est le message de la vitalité d'une chose. Si une chose est vitale, il y a toujours de la moralité.
Fellini was a real genius. As they say, the artist must close his mouth and let the work speak. And that's what he did.